Hello and thank you for joining the Monday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. Today on the program, 10 female rice farmers still missing after slaughter of 43 farmers by Boko Haram in Borno State, as former Vice President Atiku demands review of Nigeria's security architecture. APC holds emergency NEC meeting as sacked NWC member drags party INEC to court. IG warns policemen, says their firearms are not for killing but self-defense. And later on the show, airlines hike airfares by 100% as operating costs rise. I'll be hanging out with returning with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Gani Kayode Balogun, and Sam Ibimiri. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. The brutal killing of over 43 farmers by Boko Haram in Borno State on Saturday still left many in horror. But the bad news is not over. It has been discovered that the 10 women working at the rice farm are still missing. To steer the country out of this murderous path, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has called for review of Nigeria's security architecture. A complete overhaul is required for the desired results. Now, Babajide, this is not the first time we're getting a call like this, but it's as if the National Assembly has called on the Mr. President, both the House of Rep and the Senate has called on the Mr. President to please rejig his security team. And some have said the entire security architecture. And they went further to call for the relief of, the service chiefs of their jobs. But Femi Adesina, the spokesman to the president, says it's only the CNC, that's only Mr. President, that can determine when those guys can go. But a lot of Nigerians and other stakeholders have been saying that, look, Mr. President, you appointed them, yes, we know, but they're not showing fresh ideas. They're not showing that, look, they have what it takes to confront a myriad of security challenges across the country. GD, Mr. President is sticking to his security chiefs 5 years after.
Well, if there is an award for simply saying the same thing and not being listened to by the president, I'm sure we will have won the award, because we have suggested to him so many times that he should let the service chiefs go. They've done well. They can't do beyond what they have done. Apparently now, there is no way they can do better than what they've done. But the president is a very conservative person. He thinks these are the people that can guarantee their loyalty, and he's sticking to them. Everyone has spoken to him. He just won't listen. So for me, I don't think it makes sense again to come here and be saying the same thing, like a broken record. We have appealed to him. The president won't listen. So what we can say at this point, what we can demand from the president, keep your service chiefs. They are the people you trust. But we want improvement. We demand improvement in security. Whichever way you can do it, just make it happen.
Keep your service chiefs.
Yes, you can keep your service chiefs, but we want improvement. Because the truth is,
just stop the carnage.
It's not the problem we have is not with the service chiefs alone. We have issues with security across our country. It's not as if policing itself is better.
No.
And I don't think it's Burate that hurts the police.
If not worse.
So what we want, what Nigerians should continue to ask for, is improvement in security across board. Whether it's in terms of the performance of the Army, or the performance of the Navy, or performance of the Air Force. We just want improvement. We can't continue to watch people die like fowls in our country. There is nowhere in the world where I know that human life is as cheap as it is in our country. Because people are talking about this 43. But in Ganze local government, some months back, if you recall, about 80-something people were killed. And this same Governor Zulum went there to join them in the burial. And this one too happened. They said, no, we will not bury our dead. The governor must come and see what has happened. Before now, 20 persons were slaughtered while in their irrigation farm about 1-2 weeks back in the same Borno state. So it's not, many of the killings don't even get reported anymore. That is to tell you,
accurate, we would have lost track.
That is to tell you how cheap life is in our country. That up to 40 people will die. How many people die in the UK or France? And the whole world, they will be putting the flag of France, putting the flag of this. Even we hypocritical Nigerians.
I declare myself safe.
Yeah, hypocritical Nigerians will be using the flag of France. Whereas more people die in their country, and when such people die in their country, they behave like it is not a problem. Because a lot of our people, and when you say the truth, they will say, oh, it's because they didn't give him appointment. When some of us have been rejecting appointments since 2006 by the grace of God. They will say, that nonsense. You don't, so we don't even, some people are even scared to talk about it because they will say, oh, you are one of the enemies. We don't even want to talk about dead people dying cheaply in our country anymore. So this is the situation. A friend of mine said, Jide, should there not even be occasions when presidential spokesmen will button up their lips rather than blame the dead? Because that's what Garba Shehu just done. You blaming the dead that they didn't take permission. Oh, and in the same breath you said the Nigerian army has the whole area covered. Oh, if they had the whole area covered, in the same statement that you made, if they had the whole area covered, how come those guys had the temerity to go and kill people and it took them that long, unrestrained? They took their time, tied people to their backs. And you know what? You know the terrible thing that they did? Only 3 people had their heads still left on their bodies. Others, they severed their heads completely. So for the district head and other old people there, it was a real tug of war, matching heads with bodies. Because only 3, and they left only the elderly too. They didn't kill the very old people. A lot of those innocent farmers were actually people from Sokoto, from Kebbi, from Kano. Only 16 of them were residents of the town. Because these people came, seeing that there is water in the area, they saw it as an opportunity to come and do their rice farming and then make their money. And they paid the laborers 1,500 a day. My friend, Honorable Satomi, who represents Jere local government in the House of Reps, he has a farm there. So people big-time farmers have farms there. They pay people 1,500 a day for that little amount of money. People's throats were slit. See how cheap death is in our country? Your life is so easy to die in our country.
British. GKB, this perspective that, look, the call for that the review of our security architecture by the former vice president is not the first time, and looking deep into it, and what does the vice president mean when he's talking about security architecture?
Well, he's been there as vice president, and he assumes that he has been a major shoulder in the Nigerian projects to advise the government on what to do next. But the danger here is the fact, like Jide said, that people see whoever is raising all these points as enemy of the state. And that's the danger we are going in. We are not doing a narrative where anybody who speaks against the calumny that we are going through as a country are labeled as antagonists or whatever names they call them. And Atiku, of course, falls into this category. What is even more painful to me, according to a newspaper from the north, was that when the villagers resisted the original attack, those who came for food to come and raid them, they had 48 hours notice that these people will come back. 48 hours is a long time for the Nigerian army or whoever is supposed to protect the area to be proactive in this manner. Here they sat back and watched these people massacred, if I'm allowed to use that word, because it's now a very delusional word. And that's the tragedy that we face. And nobody is holding anybody responsible for that lapse of judgment. Nobody will be punished for this act of callousness. Nobody will be sanctioned for making sure that providing ordinary security will command that area. Let's have examples so that commanders can learn that things like this will not be business as usual.
Sam, it's becoming embarrassing. It's as if the federal government is losing these fights against these bandits and insecurity as a whole in the entire country.
That judgment has been passed a long time ago. A long time ago. It's not a case of becoming embarrassing. Anyone who has watched the political space will tell you that the state of insecurity in the country is one that you could rate as a disaster. So many people have spoken. And the most recent was the Sultan of Sokoto. I mean, you won't describe him as a non-entity. He spoke truth to power.
I was expecting the response from Gabashew or Fenadishino to actually take the Sultan of Sokoto to the cleaners.
What manner of response would you expect? He spoke truth to power. And we need more people in that caliber to speak to government.
He declared that the North is not safe.
It's a shame. And you want to place that against how the rest of the world will react. I mean, if some of us who are lowly out there have spoke, consistently, that government hasn't done well in terms of managing the country's security. Now that it has come from somebody as high as the Sultan, I hope they will listen. And oftentimes we want to, pretend as to where the right blame, should be laid. It stops right there at the table of Mr. President. He's the commander-in-chief. When Jide spoke, he said, if the man wants to keep his service chiefs, he can go ahead, but he should give us results. But I think it goes beyond that. Nigerians are holding him squarely responsible. If he doesn't want to be held as such, he should drop the title of Commander-in-Chief of Nigeria's Armed Forces. It's a huge shame. It's an embarrassment. It's a disaster. Whatever you choose to call it. I mean, life has become so cheap that those we call terrorists don't just kill, they decapitate. And you wonder what the motive really is. I mean, if you have shot somebody dead, what else do you want? You mutilate him, so it means nothing. And we have often heard people say this has to do with ideology. What manner of ideology? That encourages you to kill? I'm not sure.
My first caller, Joshua, is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Joshua.
Good evening to you, Ayo.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, Babajide, and others in the studios.
Good evening.
Yes, Babajide, I'm always one of those people attacking you. But I think the truth has to be said. Just what you said, the president can keep his security chiefs and improve the security in the country. We both voted in the president. Someone like that can die for the president. But the truth, these are women being dying. These are women being beheaded anyhow. This is not the time for the spokesperson for the president or whoever to come and say they didn't collect clearance. These are human beings. The needful have to be done. They need to do the needful. It's not that maybe anybody that is talking the truth, they should be seeing them as the enemy of the nation. Just the way I'm seeing you, Babajide, before, I think we are the enemy of this nation. But I have to join my own force with you to say the truth to the president. He needs to do the needful at this period. People are dying, no matter their tribe. These are human beings like me. It can be me. The needful need to be done. Let the president listen to what the people are saying.
Thank you, Joshua.
His service keeps.
Thank you for your contribution. Because the bottom line is that if you like die for Mr. President, you are just on your own. Can you die for Nigeria? It is when we live above that look, this is my country, I love my country, I want to do the best. Not an individual. Mr. President will do his bit and he will leave.
He does not even know him.
So
the thing is, he even said that he was one of those who saw me as enemy of the country.
Now he's now alive.
What have I done?
No, now he's not saying that, look, there's a little bit of what he has been saying, criticizing you since all these days, that people are really dying. He can now suspend his...
Because the gift of perception is not common in our
To everybody, yeah.
The gift of perception is not common. The thing is, look, you say the right thing, they will label you an enemy of the state. Meanwhile, these same people doing all of those, saying all of those things, the president does not know them. But by the grace of God, he knows me. And he didn't get to know me today. He had known me since the very early 90s, when we used to go and see him at his Halirudantoro residence in Kaduna, Timothy Bonnet, Bagada Kalto, and the rest of them. So people who suddenly fell in love with the president, they will now be calling some of us names because we told the president the truth. If two brothers go into a room and they come out smiling, it means they are not telling them the truth. And we need the president to succeed. If we want him to succeed, then we must tell him the truth.
One other person checked for Mr. President. They now said he is sick. The president have checked for Buhari.
The truth is, let's see how we can protect our people better. Because I don't want to sound like a doomsday prophet. There's no guarantee that this won't happen again.
The guarantee is that it will happen again.
Or it's not happening as you are talking now.
Because
somewhere.
When it happened in Ganze local government, and it's the same, they gathered them like they wanted to do what's to them.
The same modus.
And they shot everybody. In this case, they were calling them into a room. You know, the suspicion, and I have a little reason to believe that the Boko Haram, because this thing is said to have been done by the Albanawi faction, but I have reasons to suspect that they felt, because the army was bombarding these guys in the area, they then felt that it is those residents that were giving information. Now, if you heard that they came to that area a few days back, and the army was notified that they came, those guys, because they also have information, they do a lot of reconnaissance and all that, they will probably think, oh, so you reported us to the army. Okay, we are going to teach you a lesson. Because Boko Haram does not take kindly to people leaking information about their movements to the army. There are videos of them slaughtering people who were accused of spying on them and giving information to the army, including even women. They will not spare. So, but in this case, it just reinforces what the Shehu of Borno said to the president when he visited him in his palace, that after 10 kilometers, we are no longer safe.
From Maiduguri?
Yes. I traveled to Mafa. That's, we traveled more than 30 kilometers outside of Borno. That Kwashebe, where they are originally killed, you know, we moved them from Kwashebe to Zabamari, because it was actually Kwashebe that they were killed. That Kwashebe was in Mafa local government that I visited. Every time you go out in Maiduguri, you step out of Maiduguri, it's the grace of God that keeps you alive. You could be attacked anytime. That there are army checkpoints, it's no guarantee that you can't be killed. These are people who overrun military positions.
I have Ayeni from Lagos. Thank you for staying with us, Ayeni.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Good evening, and every other person there.
Good evening.
Yeah, please, I want to ask, why are the Northerners dying in silence? Is it because the president from the northern side of this country, that's why none of them can even come out to protest all this happening? Because I can't imagine things like this continue to happen in the north, and everybody just kept quiet. Nobody is talking, apart from maybe the Sultan and some few people there. Can the commoners, the common people there, that these things are happening to everything, come out, protest, tell the government what they want. Why are they dying in silence? I don't know. I just want to ask. And Mr. President too should do something about this killing. He should change the service chief. It's taking too long. He should not move until everybody in the northwest and northeast are killed. What magic did the Chadian army use to pursue, to take away the cow from their land? The Nigerian army cannot, take the same step. I don't know. This thing is what I call
So far the Sultan of Sokoto has spoken.
He speaks for
he has
the North,
spoken.
And people remember when the president visited Borno State, they showed their anger. They showed their anger. I mean, the videos are still there. They showed their anger. So
for the first time,
it's not as if the people and I think Kadaria also led a demonstration
against the killings in
Zamfara. So I think a time will come when some of those demonstrations will be spontaneous, and it could get really bloody. So it's better. And I think there was even in Kaduna we had a protest against banditry. About the time when we had the NSAS protest. We first had the NSAS protest and then protest against banditry. Yes, those protests are not enough. Our leaders need to be told again and again and again before they take action on certain issues. So I think that the people, if you also listen to northern radios
and WhatsApp groups,
you will know that the people are complaining.
Yeah.
You need to listen to VOA Hausa service, the Liberty,
BBC.
You will see that the people, it's not as if everybody is quiet. They may not adopt the style that is common in the South.
Yes.
But people are grumbling, people are complaining. So it's not that they're happy with what is going on.
Let me take this, Brida, when we come back.
Okay.
We'll continue. Please stay with us. It's a multi-award-winning program reaching you live from TVC News here in Lagos and Nigeria, and we are looking at the security situation in the country. We don't care whose us is God, we say it the way it is, and that's the situation right now across the country. That all is not well in terms of security across Nigeria. You can't spare anywhere out. When you come down to the south, the kidnappers. Yes,
those states, your home state.
No, in those states it's very shameful, disgraceful that a traditional ruler from before is just 20 minutes from my place, Jagwa, that was coming from a meeting in Akure and he was killed. And the chief of staff to the governor, the wife again was happened, and the next day, it's so very bad.
Yeah, I was. There's something that disturbs me still, and I just feel if military solution is the only option left. Sometimes I ask myself, can't we explore a political solution to this entire crisis? And I seem to hit a brick wall, and I feel the way I do because I take my mind back, and I try to recall how the Chibok girls, those who were held back, were negotiated, out of captivity. Over 100 of them, I remember. And I ask myself, can't that same process, that window of opportunity be explored? That's the political side to it. You know, and I think that the government owes us some information. Because we can't continue to have, you know, our people killed recklessly, you know, whatever it will take. If the country can afford the political solution, I think that we should just play all the cards that, we have.
They tried that at a point when they were trying to rehabilitate all these Boko Haram boys. But you and I know that a few weeks ago, one of them, who was supposed to have been reformed, also led an attack.
One of them attacked his father, stole his cattle, murdered him, and set the house ablaze.
The so-called guys are said to be de-radicalized.
Supposedly de-radicalized. And then for the Chibok girls to be released, it took a lot of negotiation and money must have exchanged hands through third-party elements. But it also coincided with a period when Boko Haram suddenly became even more powerful, which means that once you make money available to them through third party, they then will be able to buy
what they want to buy,
their weapons on the black market.
To attack you more.
They also, part of the negotiation was release some of our bomb makers, which we went ahead to do.
To hurt the money.
And that was why the president, I remember the vice president midwifed that negotiation. The president was not around when the last one was done. The president said the next negotiation will be more difficult because he must have weighed the entire situation. Do you get the captives released and then strengthen the enemy? So that is why many countries don't negotiate with terrorists
at all.
Sri Lanka didn't negotiate with the Tamil Tigers. When people tell you, no, terrorism cannot be defeated, it's a lie. They don't know history. Sri Lanka fought with a terrorist group for 25 years. 25 years, and they defeated them. Till today, Tamil Tigers is dead. Algeria fought with a terrorist group beginning from 1992, when the Muslim Brothers won that election and they were not allowed to take power. And, you know, their own policy then too was to decapitate people. The Algerian army successfully defeated that terrorist group. So history has examples of terrorist groups that were defeated. It takes great commitment. And we can see what happened against ISIS in Iraq. Bit by bit, they took back all of the communities in the hands of ISIS with the support of Peshmerga fighters from the Kurdish area, American troops on ground, you know. Today, there's no territory that ISIS controls in Iraq anymore. Meanwhile, big towns like Mosul and the rest of them used to be in their hands. Oil-producing communities in Iraq used to be in their hands. They've chased them away. So we can defeat Boko Haram. Militarily, we can defeat Boko Haram. All that is required is for us to energize our military to be able to do this, provide them with the weapons, the game-changing weapons that they need, improve their welfare, get everybody to pull in the same direction, and we'll defeat these guys. And if we need help, let's ask for the help. That's all.
Okay, I have Mukhtar from Kano State. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Mukhtar.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
BGO, welcome back.
Thank you.
Let me contribute to what you are discussing now. You see, we Nigerians, we should be upright in what we are doing. We have been talking, change service chiefs, change that, do that, nothing. The president kept mute. We have representatives in both Senate and House of Reps. Why can't we tag them? Why can't they do something? Even if it means impeaching the president, they should do it. We are not going to be sitting down until we all die. What is all this? It's one of the cardinal principles in the Constitution that protection of lives and property must be guaranteed. Now, it is not a personal property. Nigeria belongs to all of us, and Nigeria is greater than any other person. People come and go, but Nigeria remains. What are they, the split and the rest, what are they doing? We've been talking, and nothing is happening. And the killing continues. Innocent people, innocent lives. And the world is looking, and we call it democracy, and nothing has been done. He cannot hear people, he cannot take advice. What kind of people are we? I mean, enough is enough. I stand for Nigeria.
Thank you for your contribution. Now, moving on now. An emergency meeting of the National Executive Committee of the All Progressive Congress, APC, has been scheduled for the Tuesday, the 8th of December. The National Secretary of the party's caretaker and extraordinary convention planning committee, Senator John Akpanda Ido says the meeting will review the party's position and set agenda for its next move. Meanwhile, a former national vice chairman of the party, Hilliard Etta, has dragged APC before a federal high court in Abuja over the sack of Adams Oshiomhole-led NWC. Etta is asking the courts to nullify the APC caretaker committee and reinstate him as the acting national chairman. APC will take one step forward and 24 steps backward. Babajide, when the president actually, from a lot of people said it that time that the president made the pronouncement dissolving the Adams Oshiomhole National Working Committee, yes, as at that time. The president asked all of them, anybody that if you have any case, litigation in courts, please go and remove it unless you are going to be dealt with. So with Fiat, most of the members, they couldn't go to court, and some that had cases in court discontinued the case when they discovered that they wanted to use the case to destroy the party. Now, we are at it again. While the NWC promised that November, December this year they were going to conduct a national convention, they did not deliver on that. And it's not on site that they are going to have the national convention anytime soon. Now, Mr. Etta is saying we are going to court. This committee is illegal, and whatever you have been doing is illegal. Jide, tell us more.
Well, the truth is, those actions that the president took at that time were not backed by law. That is a fact. The idea of even a caretaker committee for the APC is not known to
APC law,
Constitution.
Not known to the APC Constitution. So the president made that move at that time as a way of saving the party, because some governors have made up their minds to bring down the roof on everyone. It's either Oshiomhole goes or not. You know, so the president, and when you start hearing someone like Yadom, you know, suddenly becoming acting national chairman, you knew that at least the mainstream APC was not with him. So when someone from the minority political group within the party suddenly emerges as chairman of the party through the courts, then you know that that party is headed for real crisis. So the president knew that at that point he had to move in. But all he was relying on was the fact that, well, whatever action that we have taken in the best interest of the party, so that the party does not collapse over my head. So he was banking on the fact that nobody will go to court, and that once they've told people to accept the decision and not go to court, everyone will agree. And Oshiomhole said, yes, I'm happy to go by what the president has said. Oshiomhole, being the leader of the group, said we will not go to court, we will abide by the decision of the party, this and that, and he thanked the president. But there are people within the party who have been monitoring what's going on and now think that, look, there are a few individuals led by 4 governors who think that the party is their personal fiefdom and that they must do whatever it takes to produce the next president. No, the overriding goal is to produce the successor to the president. The ESCO, to dominate the ESCO of the party would also happen, but that will come first. But the overriding goal is to succeed the president, and they want their group to produce that next president. At least we've seen what these are our friend from the Governors Forum, the one who is sometimes here, that time will be on this side. We know him now by reputation. You can hear what he's saying. He's talking about those 4 governors that I mentioned. 4 governors and then the Attorney General of the Federation. Everyone can see this scheming. This whole thing is about 2023. But as I always tell APC members, you can have 20 governors, or even you can have 25 governors. It's not a guarantee that you form the next government. If you remember what happened to the PDP in 2015, count the number of governors that the PDP had. How many governors did the merger of the APC, I mean the merger of different disparate groups that later became APC, how many governors did they come to the party with? They had far fewer governors than the PDP. But at the end, they defeated the PDP in the next election. That is why I'm not surprised that they're saying that they want to do a NEC meeting now, because clearly the way the Buni-led caretaker committee is thinking, they think that they deserve more time, that they've been working hard trying to reconcile party members and all that. But there are still fights that have not ended. The reconciliation is not thorough enough. There are states where the lingering, the disagreements that they had before the election remain unresolved, likely unresolved. So even if they have much more time, they still need to solve a lot of those problems. Otherwise, they will go to the next election even with the crisis linked. So naturally, I expected the Buni committee to be able to conduct a convention. But they're asking for more time, and they think that it's only the NEC that can give them more time. Yeah, that's true. That is their own goal. But the other people now, their own goal is to show that everything that the president did was illegal.
Null and void.
And unfortunately, the way the law is, it's going to be difficult for any judge to say no, that it was legal. How do you say it? Which portion of the constitution of the party are you going to cite? So the option for them is to appeal to these guys to withdraw their matter in the interest of the party. Because I don't know what portion of the law you are going to cite that gave you the power to do the things that you did. To sack an ESCO that was produced by the convention.
By convention.
GKB.
Well, the general feeling out there is the fact that the Buni committee, those who insisted and must come to life, have realized in the last 6 months that they do not have the figure in terms of membership to snatch the party from the original legacy party members. In the last 6 months, they've gone around, they've tried to create all manners of things. But the perception out there among party members is the fact that if the convention was held today, the same team that the president threw out will still come back. That's why they are trying now.
Loyal to those ones.
That's why they are trying now to do a new membership registration in December.
But they are denying that that's not why they want to do it.
That's why they want to do it. I said the perception out there among party members at the highest level and lowest level is the fact that those who hijacked the party, those who spoke with the president last, those that the president agreed with their position, are not in the majority.
No.
As far as the party is concerned. They've tried it in the last 6 months. And because if you look at their name, the name is very clear and unambiguous. Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. They have only one job. Organize the convention. Only one. And 6 months they could not do it. And they could not do it because they don't, those who are behind them don't have the figures and the numbers to push through the agenda. And the meeting that will be held on Tuesday.
That means what you are saying is their goal is not to organize a transparent, even-handed convention. They want a convention
where they will have the figures.
Where they will be able to produce majority of
and that's why they went east. You understand? That's why they went east. So if they can get somebody at the executive level and get the figures balanced, maybe. And that, but you know, politics is a
balance figures in politics. It's not that.
So that's why the problem is. I can tell you, no convention will be held in December, and if they don't have the figures again, it will not be held in June. But they are going to drag this thing out till maybe 6 months.
If you remember the intra-party crisis that destroyed the People's Democratic Party before 2015, this was the way it started. And they started having this issue. And the turning point was when President Jonathan was at the Eagle Square and was saying, have we changed our name since 1999? No, we have not changed. Have we changed this? No, we have not changed. Meanwhile, the governors led by Bukola Saraki and Atiku Abubakar, those governors and PDP guys said they worked out. And that same day, a press conference was held at the Yaradua Center, very close by, and that was the beginning of a big problem for the People's Democratic Party.
Yes, Ayo. Somehow history has a way of repeating itself. You know, within political parties, we always have contending forces.
Interests.
It would either here or elsewhere. Okay? And what makes APC, the APC story a bit interesting is that it's the ruling party, and we're on the verge of another, election cycle. But politicians will always want ample time to fight their battles, and that is why it seems that the intrigues, took off very early this time. That's almost like 3 years, before that time, because they need a lot of time to sort out themselves, go to court and all that.
They've learned to make hay
while the sun shines. So what you see playing out basically is a battle for the soul of the party in terms of who controls the structure. Yeah. The faction, permit my word, of the use of faction, that takes control ultimately will be in a position to influence who emerges. Of course, like Jesus said, it's not guaranteed that whoever emerges is going to pick the #1 seat, in Aso Rock. But then, what matters to the average politician, in this case the APC, is that they need time to fight their battles, seize the structure in whatever way. Sometimes you think these things are polished. No. Sometimes very dirty battles. Okay, you've had a case where the governors, through the Progressive Governors Forum, using one Dr. Lukman Salihu.
Attacking their own
You don't understand?
Their own ESCO.
And you could see the signals. When Oshomole was to be removed, it was the same Progressive Governors Forum, through the same process. Do you understand? That began to send out early signals of who they thought was not doing the right job in terms of holding the seat of the national chairman. Same thing is happening. Same Dr. Salihu issued in a statement, I think 2 days ago, calling the leaders in APC as as people who don't encourage democracy within the party. So we all know what is. Oh yes. And of course, anytime he speaks, he's not speaking for himself. Somebody put him there. He speaks for a group of governors, and they call themselves progressive governors. They want to seize the soul of the party. They want to influence who emerges, and they think that
within the government, there's disunity still.
Absolutely. Okay, so that is what is playing out, and we know a few persons who think that that structure should go elsewhere, not under the care of whoever they thought had always been in control of it. But GKB said the facts will always play play out. If you don't have numbers, you don't have control. I mean, if you wanted to get things influenced in 6 months and you couldn't get it because you don't have the numbers, what are the guarantees? So one expects that...
No, they'll keep plotting.
Yes, they'll keep plotting because there will be give and take. Ultimately, it's about positioning. And you want to come to the table from the position of strength. Okay, if you're not strong then, or if you're holding the short end of the stick, nothing for you. So everyone wants to, all the contending forces want to come to the table holding, the longer side of the stick. I think that's what is playing now. We hope that they do it, with a lot of decorum, and that nobody gets out at the end of the day, because sometimes such battles could be deadly, Ayo. It could.
We have Jakub calling from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Jakub.
And then good evening, Babajide and the rest of the team.
Good evening, Jakub.
Ayo, Babajide has said it all. I really love Babajide because when he was in Yoruba language, we always call it Tunashiri. When he was Tunashiri, all those governors behind all this nonsense. I'm very sure where they hear, they will not like it.
They don't like it at all.
He said he's talking the truth. But the truth must be saying that. I'm so ashamed of this also called governor, because some of us, we are not a member of the party, but we are sympathizers of that party. We don't expect all these things that is happening now. The progressive governor, quote and unquote, they cannot be able to go and meet Mr. President and tell Mr. President that please do something to this insecurity, because they are not fighting because they want to take the social party. So whether they like it or not, everybody have said it is not guaranteed to be because providing the leader comes 2023. Hopefully, we are all supposed to live our lives, and then we are going to see how it goes. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Jakub. Gentlemen, at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting in 2021. We just got the momentum. 4 years to the election, we thought that, we're going to allow this government 2020, 2021, now maybe 22 before the politics start. It's not looking like that. In 2021, it's going to be hot.
By the selfish nature of Nigerian politicians, they can't even wait for one whole year after an election before they start plotting for the
They couldn't wait.
And the truth is, you don't know who will be alive at the time of the next election.
Do they care?
They don't care. It's just, and what is important is allow a level playing field for everyone. You know what broke the back of the PDP was the fact that certain elements within the party had made up their minds that the president at the time should be unchallenged.
Forgetting the arrangements.
Yes. Meanwhile, there were Northerners who wanted to challenge, who felt that, look,
silenced.
Jonathan used up the remainder of the Yaraba years, and that it was the turn of the North.
Yes.
That was also Obasanjo's argument.
But the gentleman...
You had used 6 years. 6 years is enough. Let the North be able to have a shot at the title. In this case, because there was a determination on the part of the leadership of the party to ensure that it is Jonathan or nobody else. Those of them who walked out. Remember Sule Lamido, we had interest in the presidential race. Sule Lamido and the rest of them who walked out. This was the feeling that they had, because they had the ambition to contest, So it's a terrible situation. If there is no even-handedness, history will repeat itself. And my appeal to the Bune-led caretaker committee is to show transparency. Don't soil your good name in the name of politics. Because we are hearing all kinds of stories that Bune wants to be vice president, this and that. He has not told me that he wants to be vice president. I've not called him to ask him about his passport. People are already insinuating that that's what he wants, and that he will rather support Borno. If you do that, the party will remain divided. And remember, in the next election, there will be no individual with a guarantee of those 12 million votes. That will always
Buhari will not be on the ballot.
Buhari will not be on the ballot. So you have to battle for every state, battle for every vote.
No vote.
So APC must be very careful. They must be very careful. They always want us to talk about crisis in the PDP alone, whereas they have their own. We will tell you the truth, we will appeal to you to do what is right. If you like, gang up and gang up to defeat your own party. That is your problem. But we will tell you that the only way by which you can guarantee success is to bring everybody together and let them feel that it is a party for everyone, not a party for a section, for some 4 governors, one of them from Jigawa, the other one from Kebbi. So it should be a party for everybody. That's the guarantee of success in future elections.
All right, moving on now. Still breathing from the effects of the COVID-19 lockdown, the aviation sector in Nigeria is getting some more bashing, this time due to insecurity and foreign exchange crisis in the country. As such, airlines have increased costs of air tickets by 100% due to high demand for air travel over rising insecurity. Cost of flight operations has also doubled. Gentlemen, a celebrity just put it on Twitter this afternoon that he had to go and change Naira for dollar at the parallel market, and I changed for 500 Naira.
I
That's
think
the range.
yes.
It's up to 500 now.
450.
Maybe we don't want to mention who the celebrity
The
is.
celebrity is
But
He announced it, Ravi.
yes.
He announced it by himself.
Yes.
And you can mention
Hey,
it.
it's the
Oh, okay.
So
to go and change
you see,
dollar.
I have-
OBO.
Yes, OBO.
he probably went to, if it's the black
First
market.
Sobat, yes.
No, he probably went
It is
with.
the black
No, he probably went with a bag full of naira
Naira.
notes. So that's the image I have playing out in my head. But the fundamentals don't look good. The value of Nigerian currency, has depreciated so badly. We thought it will never get to this point where the naira would exchange for almost how much now? Is it 500 naira to a dollar? Of course, all of us understand the way the airline industry operates. Most of what they do, is foreign currency, denominated. Yes. So, if you're going to spend that amount of money to go for your C check or whatever check, the airline, wants to conduct, it's going to be a lot of money. That cost is going to be, transferred to the eventual consumer. I think that is what is playing out. So the fundamentals don't look good. Our economy, either in terms of the value of naira, also doesn't look good. But that is just one side of the story. The other side of the story is, of course, December is approaching. A lot of people will be traveling. So you also probably have a situation where the airlines want to, leverage that opening within the economy, because there's a lot of demand, by people who want to travel. But what can be done? It's beyond sentiments. We already have a situation where the government and our financial experts who know better have advised against multiple windows. So you can't begin to do let's give them a 350 or let's give them a 400 and all that. It opens the door to a lot of abuses. So much has been said about that. So we have a challenge on our hands, and that is to ensure that productivity increases, and that's the only way you can firm up your naira and ensure that things get a lot better. Interestingly, the aviation industry that we're talking about contributes just about 0.14%. The other ones that probably move on.
Most countries protect them. You must understand.
Yes,
that.
but
despite that problem of only doing 1.4%, they are protected by the states because it's a fundamental security issue.
No, we have a prospect to do more in that aviation sector. But
even after 9/11. George W. Bush had to bail out the airlines because people were not flying and the airlines were facing imminent death. So you had to bail them out. People were too scared to fly. So it's for our security, the airlines have to be protected. They have to be supported to stay afloat. They are facing serious crisis at this time. And now we are into our worst recession in 40 years. So the truth is, it's not as if there is a rush to fly. More people are actually flying now. But a lot of airplanes are grounded because there is no money, no foreign exchange for spares and all that. So they are grounded. So it will then look like there is a rush.
For the
But
few
there is actually a
available
rush for the few planes. So the argument that, oh, security is causing more people to fly is not actually the case. If you go to the airport, you see that the crowd in the airport is not as large as what it used to be. It's not as large as what it will be. The air tickets are prohibitive, which is a disincentive to many people. I flew from Maiduguri to Abuja. The seat that was left was a business class seat, 90,000.
From Maiduguri
Yes.
to Abuja.
And then I had to buy another ticket to come to Lagos. You know?
But
So-
they offer you jollof rice.
No, they don't. They're not
it's water.
serving food
Just
anymore.
water.
It's water. It's water.
It's just water. Some of
You
them
go in
don't
the
even
business
put.
class?
No, nothing, no food at all. Some of them are not even offering water. Just nothing. So they try to cut costs, but you see, they suffered tremendous losses
During the COVID.
during the COVID period, during the lockdown when they were not flying and all that. A lot of them, it will take a while before they can even break even, and then we are now in a recession. If you have to source for forex at between 485 to 500, and a lot of what you do is dollar denominated. The service, the sea check that you go and do in France and other countries, you have to spend dollars. You even pay your flight engineers,
In dollars.
aircraft engineers, pay your pilots in dollars. So you can see that they are facing a really bad period. They are going through a really testy period at this time.
Because basically they serve as a metaphor of the problem we face economically as a country. Those who can afford to fly are basically the top echelon of the society. And so they can bear the brunt at that level. But the point we are now is the fact that those that are supported by the state, civil servants, journalists, people of that cadre, that normally would be able to afford 30,000 to fly to Abuja, are now being cut off that access. And that means that there will be more pressure on our roads and therefore more danger to those flying it. And that to me is where the government need to come in and protect.
People would rather not fly than people would rather not fly
They pay that kind of money.
because people what I mean is people would rather fly
There are risks.
than risk driving by road on the Kaduna Abuja highway, for example. Then the trains are suddenly they started breaking down.
I was
There was a video that I saw that they almost beat up. Very stupid, you know.
Before I came into this program, I was in the Zoom meeting, and my dear was saying that from Lagos to Ilorin, 12 hours by road.
By road. So and if you pay 61,000, they should be able to take you there from Lagos.
Just what's the name of that island?
Overland.
Just save yourself from all. Because by the time you get to Ibadan, Oyo, from Oyo to Ogbomoso, that Ogbomoso route.
That's another war.
Before you even get past this area, Ogeria and all of those places, up to interchange. I don't know why it's taking Julius Baja eternity to do their own portion.
The other side is virtually ready.
Yes, we've been ready like that for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
They're talking about 2022 now.
Because they have to, there's a place
I
in
thought the president said they must deliver this year.
there's a place in Mowe that they have to dig all over again. The water was not flowing. It was that bad. But the problem, but this is also a reflection of our incapacity to do the right thing. When we were planning Abuja as well capital territory, like they do all over the world, from Tokyo to Kumi, all those towns, they always link their commercial capital to their political capital. By now, we should have a train taking us from Lagos to Abuja under 3 hours. It's not rocket science. Once you plan to move to Abuja, you must also take into cognizance the economic reality of things that will remain in Lagos. So the good country that have planned ahead, by now, you can afford fast train, at least 3-4 hours from Lagos to Abuja, to solve this problem I have.
3-4 hours, Lagos to Abuja by train.
But there are people who still prefer to fly.
I know, I'm talking about middle level, whose costs.
Ilorin to Abuja by 61,500.
Imagine.
Ilorin to Abuja.
Huh?
61,500, yes. That's what I saw there. A one-way ticket Lagos to Maiduguri
Ilorin to Abuja.
is 100,000. It's because of the
Bad roads.
And now Makurdi, I think they are about to open their own airport too.
Oh, in Benin.
Yes, Makurdi.
And Adwekit is also planning one.
The airpiece will be going to Makurdi now. So, it's, nobody wants to travel by road if they can afford to fly.
But you know,
But we must fix our route.
yeah, but I
No, not just because of fixing it alone, it's just kidnappers. It's because the kidnappers. That's why even soldiers,
Senior officers.
senior officers or generals, they will enter train. So at the train station, you see their convoy waiting for them. So they will then spirit them to their respective rooms. So the top politicians too, they enter the train. If you make the mistake of going by road on the Abuja, if they catch you, if they take ransom from you and they don't kill you, then be grateful.
yeah, but
Look at that scramble.
No,
Look at this, that scramble champion. They took ransom and they still took his life. And the people who took ransom to them, they also killed. So there are many people who would rather fly than
Risk.
risk being killed.
But ultimately, we still have to make road transportation safe, because if you look at the percentage of people who travel by roads, we have more people, and that is where
About 99%.
that's where you look at.
About 99%.
We have the higher number. We have the higher number of people traveling by road.
I'm telling you, while life they can afford to fly. Those people, they will fly.
We are back to what I started with. Affordability.
Because the truth
But
is,
they will prefer
for a
to
lot
fly
of them, they don't have the
What's
money
the
to
truth?
fly. Than risk kidnappers firing at their vehicle. These days, they take almost an entire bus passengers into the bush. So they will now, is when they get into the bush, they'll start cherry picking. Okay, I don't want this one. You, I don't want this one. You don't want this. So that's what is happening.
They have enough time
You know
to
the
put
thing. Maiduguri Monguno Highway, one of the most dangerous in our country. I think the Damboa Highway is the most dangerous by my own reckoning. But people still drive on that same Maiduguri Monguno Highway. That's where they killed our soldiers, about 7 soldiers sometime last week. The kidnappers, Boko Haram kidnaps people on that road all the time. But those who cannot afford not to travel on that road, they will still have to travel.
Daniel is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Daniel.
Yeah.
Good evening, Daniel.
Okay.
Good evening, Anna.
Yeah. I think this issue of the very big issue. The president should, as much as he's going to speak, ask for assistance from international community. Because to defeat this Boko Haram, from all indications, it has become a referendum. And the only way out is to look for assistance from the international community so that we can get rid of this guy. If not, they will overrun this country. And the parents, the Muslim parents, should also try to release some information to their work. They told these kids that following these people is not the best way. Because when you say religion, a lot of people want to take their head. But if you contact some of this information and tell them that what they are telling guys is not the truth, I'm not doing anything like that. The National Orientation Agency are not doing anything towards that. For you to be able to take right of these guys, there should be another information that will counter the information they are giving to some of these guys out there. Because the silence is military, it's possible they are trying very well, but there are still some elements. I'm giving information to this Boko Haram. The locals too should be best patriotic. Because I wonder how somebody will go to Islam who will from the Boko Haram that these guys are there. They have to do what they did for how many hours? Somebody could be able to defend them.
Okay, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your intervention. Now, how security operatives in Nigeria turn their arms against defenseless citizens they are meant to protect defies logic. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, wants that to stop. He has warned officers and men of the force to stop arbitrary use of arms against citizens. Speaking at a function in Abeokuta, Ogun State, Adamu says the firearms are to be used in self-defense and not to kill innocent citizens. I think before this was what gave rise to the campaign, the NSAS campaign, gentlemen, that I saw a video, and that video I saw, I really felt so bad that this was one of the reasons why this guy started the NSAS campaign thing. It was this commercial downfall in Lagos, and we had 2-3 guys inside this, and those guys, they didn't say what was the offense, and the policemen with their rifles just said, "Bastards, we're going to end them today. We're going to end them," and just bah, shot
And that
them.
was it.
And 3 of them were somebody killed like that, and like that. So this was how these guys were going. And yes, I saw their uniform. That these guys, obviously, they are men of the special anti-robbery, defunct anti-robbery squad.
Scrapped.
Actually, the two things attributed to the IG are both factually incorrect. The arbitrary use of firearms against citizens, if you know the history of the Nigerian police, you realize that they were created solely to put down protests by natives when they were started. So that one is not right. The second one is the fact that to use for self-defense. Actually, they use it to defend themselves and defend Nigerian people. The gun given to you is to protect the people you are supposed to protect, not only yourself. And this is why the problem is real. Because if the whole IGP does not really know the essence of why arms were given to police officers, then how will you solve the problem of arbitrary use of the same force? Because the law is very clear. The police force of a country is to serve 2 purposes: maintain law and order and protect the citizens. And most of them will have what they call rule of engagement. That you're supposed to put up your hand after the first something. They have to shoot you in the leg if you are running away, and they have to stop. So, but in Nigeria, what they do is simply, like you said, look you in the eye. And they don't like what you look like. They don't like your hairstyle. And they will have you shot. We need a total mental reorientation of whatever the base of Nigerian police. Because this, to me, is just stating.
But what the IG is saying is, look, use your weapon, use your firearms in self-defense, which means if you are confronted by an armed robbery gang, use the weapon to defend yourself. Don't turn the weapons against motorists or defenseless citizens, bystanders. We've seen drunken policemen go to a beer parlor after watching a football match. Maybe he didn't like the outcome of the match. Maybe he was involved in Niger bets or something.
He was drunk.
And then in that drunken state, somebody just said something that touched the raw nerve. The next thing, he opens fire. We've seen people killed just because they refused to part with 50 naira or even a little more than that. So he's saying that, look, it should be when your life is threatened that you can use your firearms. And I remember that this same IG said something some time ago when the police killed some people in extrajudicial circumstances in Lagos, that they will even try to get tasers.
Yes.
That they will be using tasers, you know, instead of simply fatally shooting people. At least the tasers will immobilize
For a few minutes,
the person for a few minutes. Then you can effect your arrest, put his hand behind his back, and take him away. You know, I still think that this IG has an opportunity before he leaves office to pursue that line of action. We shouldn't be using firearms recklessly the way a lot of our policemen are using it. In any case, a lot of the SARS people, A lot of them are Indian hemp smokers. So such people, some of their actions are sometimes not premeditated. Actions that came up as a result of influence of hard drugs. And that's why I'm saying, since they've said they test their urine.
Okay.
To see whether
detected.
Yes, yes. Now they are, all of them, they are taking their urine samples and testing. I'm saying that if they test their urine samples thoroughly, they will see evidence of substance abuse. Because we've seen policemen who even join bad boys in their hideouts. They go there, they meet policemen, they'll be smoking in their hand. My uncle, there was a house, an uncompleted building near his house in those days, where a policeman, thoroughly shameless, in uniform, he will come and join those bad boys smoking in their hand. That kind of person, if he was in SARS and you subject his urine to a test, you will see evidence of substance abuse.
Very high level.
So such people, once the evidence of substance abuse is established, they should not be allowed to join SWAT or whatever that one is called. They should just be allowed to, they should ease them out of the police. Wherever they go, they can go and be smoking their Indian or Colorado or the rest of them.
So, yeah, you know, you shared the video. You said you saw a couple of days back. I also saw one that went viral a couple of days ago. It had a policeman who was completely drunk, and then he had to be disarmed, and then citizens had to try to help him to get a bit more sober by pouring water on him and all that. And that is just one example.
He was disarmed?
Oh yes, video has been out there in the last couple of days. Yes, so it speaks to the challenge that we have, with our police. Like I said, that could just be one out of many, and you wonder the kind of training that these people have been, subjected to.
Psychological profile.
So that for me is a major concern.
But they didn't put their training to use.
That's just it. And so when the Inspector General of Police comes out, and speaks to his men via the Nigerian media, you wonder if they are not doing enough in the training schools. One would expect that this communication, this message, should be passed on to those of them who have the task of training.
He spoke to them, he addressed them directly, and our people reported what he said. We've seen our friend too, the RRS commander, address his people. And said, see, we are letting ourselves down. Our conduct should be better, things like that.
Addressing them directly, not talking to the public.
But it doesn't mean that one of them cannot step out of line to misbehave. That he has misbehaved does not mean that it's not a product of good training. It's just somebody who refused to put the training that was given. Refused to apply the training that was given. He let himself down and let down the force as well. Because, and as I always say, there are decent people within the police. But there are too many bad people who ought not to be in the police. They found themselves in the police because of politicians, who couldn't find something else to give them. Use their long leg to get them started into the police. And some of them too never do well in other areas, spheres of life. Then told themselves, frustrated. There is a stopgap arrangement here. There is a recruitment that is going on in the police. Maybe I could just take my chance. And then they got into the police. People who have no business being in the police. People who are worse than armed robbers. Obasanjo said it now that there are armed robbers in the police. And it's true. Robbers have been, policemen have been arrested, involved in armed robbery. Just the same way that even soldiers have been arrested, involved in armed robbery.
Or even if
so that is the same. Bad eggs, every group has its own bad eggs, but what we want to see is a preponderance of responsible and decent fellows within the police. This NSAS protest should not end in vain. It should help us to achieve the police of our dream. Otherwise, we have achieved it.
Put the spotlight on police entirely.
They are checking their urine now. They are checking their urine now. So all of them who have evidence of substance abuse, they should just ease them out of the police. because those are the people giving us problems. Let's have decent people, policemen that we'll be proud of.
A lot of them are very decent, and most of the time you meet someone who are very courteous, who go out of their way to help you. But like I said, the bad eggs are the face of the police.
Yeah, they don't give the police the
that's what they need to work on.
Sadly.
Thank you. Sam, thank you for your contribution today.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Osiare Gani Kayode Balogun. Thank you
Always a
for your
pleasure.
contribution. And GKB, I mean, BKO, it's so nice to be back. For the best part of 2 weeks, and I kept telling our viewers, BKO is coming, BKO is coming. So it was like Jesus Christ that we were expecting.
And they should be